right, here we are, people. Our first ever noontime First Things First. So maybe for your West Coast people, this is your First Things First. I'm Gerald Auger. This is their cybersecurity threat briefing for January 13th. It's cybersecurity news, coffee, commentary, and friends. Welcome back to the show. It's great to see all of you. I was super amped. Like at 11:30, I'm like just tapping my foot, staring at the clock, waiting for the Simply Cyber. I don't know if I can do this at noon every day, people. Like I was totally jacked up, itching to drop this. So it's good to see you, Base. Good to see you, RF. Nice, James. Always a pleasure. Pamela, love seeing you in the chat. Hey, Alex. Good to see you. We're going to have a good one today, people. I've already had a full pot of coffee. I had a little bit of lunch already. So, we're experimenting. We're feeling the space, if you will. Yeah, I felt it too, Kimberly. Yes, absolutely. If you want to play along, we will be at cisoseries.com, where we always get our top threat headlines. And we will be jamming. We are live streaming on LinkedIn, YouTube for the masses, and Twitch and Facebook, just because it only takes a couple extra clicks for me to push it to more platforms, and that's what we're doing. Thank you. Yeah, we're dropping it like it's hot. No doubt, man. Pierre, good to see you. BSEC, always a pleasure. Hi, Ian. What's up? Lupe's in the house. Joe. All right, guys. I think we're good. I love saying hi to you. Hey, Professor Black Ops. For those individuals who are international that stay up late to catch the 8 a.m. First Things First, I understand that another 4 hours is pushing the boundaries. But for my West Coast people, maybe there's some Hawaiian people. It's a little bit more accommodating for them. So I am so pumped. Sydney. All right. Definitely later there. All right, let's get into it. Again, cisoseries.com if you want to play along. It's Thursday, January 13th, and I am super amped up, ready to rock.
It's Thursday, January 13th, 2022. EU planning supply chain attack simulation.
Oh, Bloomberg, right out the gate, huh? Bloomberg.
Bloomberg sources say the EU will launch a large-scale simulation of cyber attacks against multiple member states this week. The simulation will go on for 6 weeks and include some knock-on socioeconomic impacts in other states, as well as look at how participants handle public communication and diplomatic responses. Documents for the simulation say the EU doesn't currently have a framework for coordinating a joint response to a major attack on its supply chain. The simulation will escalate to something that would qualify as an armed aggression under the United States Charter and will be modeled on recent attacks or likely near future scenarios.
Wow. Did you guys catch that? I know it's blurry, but Jesus, how is this the first? Like, with all due respect, I feel like I'm pretty tapped into the cybersecurity community. How is this the first I'm hearing about this? The EU is launching like a multi-country 6-week supply chain cyber attack simulation with multiple countries involved in response. That is it's not insane, but it's amazing. That is a huge, huge effort. And if the public communication isn't done well, you could actually cause panic and hysteria as people are simulated under attack. Wow. Just as a quick aside, I always tip my cap to the bad guys. But if I was a bad guy, I would consider attacking at this point because you could hide in the noise. This is excellent, though. I think of this as a tabletop exercise just for practitioners out there. Even though this is like a massive scale practitioner tabletop exercise, it is important to test your controls and verify their efficacy. I always say, like, if you bought a weapon for home defense, right, you wouldn't figure out if it works the day someone breaks into your house. You would go to the range, you would practice, you would understand how it works, how to clean it, how to arm it and stuff like that. Same with soldiers. They practice. So when the time comes, it works. This is no different. And for me personally, this is a clear indication, like it was obvious already, but this is a more clear indication that cyber warfare and the ability for an organization or a country to be resilient and persist through a cyber war or cyber attack is a national security matter now. And good on the European Union. I'm personally interested to see what this looks like and what the outcomes are of that.
Tell you the past ransomware returns. A new report from CrowdStrike details the return of the ransomware, which emerged last month as part of attacks exploiting Log4Shell. The ransomware is now Golang compiled. This has had two impacts. The smaller dependency library means there's less communication with C2 servers, reducing detection rates. It also features 85% code similarity between Linux and Windows samples, meaning it took very little adjustment to give it cross-platform support. It also uses a new encryption scheme with no free decryptor currently available. No macOS samples have been spotted, but could be possible thanks to the versatility of Golang.
Yeah, so this is interesting. Two things I take out of this. Right off the rip, it says tell you the pass returns. I wasn't really familiar with that, but that doesn't mean anything because you could have like a name generator and that would be like the new ransomware variant of the week. So it doesn't surprise me. What is interesting is that they do a lot of minimal C2 communication, which basically means the malware is on a compromised system in your organization and it's speaking to the malicious infrastructure to give it commands and stuff. That's what C2 traffic is, command and control. And you can typically see that in network traffic logs because, and John Strand and Black Hills has a tool for this and they preach about it all the time. Humans are kind of erratic, right? So network traffic's all over the place. Beacons or the way that malware communicates with C2 traffic, it is very predictable, right? Like, so let's say it's every 15 minutes. It's like beep, 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 and you can see that pattern because it's not human. It's clearly automated. And that C2 traffic is an indicator of compromise, right? So this one is doing less of that. So that's interesting. It can hide a little bit better. So your EDR technology better be better, which is detecting it on the endpoint. But the other thing I want to take away and actually share with you guys, and this is an area of opportunity for myself, professionally speaking, is learning Golang or at least understanding it a bit better. Okay. So I came up a computer science software developer. So I understand, programming and how software works and stuff like that. So to work in the field, you don't need to, but people mostly will have they'll be somewhere on the spectrum of understanding it. Malicious authors, malware authors are definitely using Golang a lot right now. Like it's like, I don't want to call it the malware language du jour, but it's definitely getting a lot of action. And I don't know anything about it. And that's concerning for me because if I see Golang type malware code or something on my network, like I don't even know if it's interpreted or compiled. That's how little I know about Golang. So if I find Golang, I'm like, all thumbs if I, because I need to know more about it, especially because the increased risk of finding it is going up because bad guys are using it. Okay. So yeah, there you go. Pete McKinnon, Golang was the #2 language recommended for malware analysis. Not surprised. I wonder if the first one was assembly, Pete, or Python. Anyways, go get some Golang training, people. If you're looking for a weekend hobby.
A look at Senate confirmations for cyber positions. The U.S. Senate recently voted 60-31 to approve President Biden's nomination of Alan Davidson to head the National Telecommunications and Information Administration this week. NTIA will manage distribution of the $48 billion of infrastructure spending on broadband deployment, so it's a big deal. However, other agencies with major cyber oversight are in limbo over personnel, with nominated commissioners for the FTC and FCC both awaiting votes. Currently, both bodies are largely stuck in partisan splits, putting major privacy and information security efforts on hold.
Okay. So I do have friends that work at NTIA, so I do know a little bit about that organization. They are basically the ones who are responsible for like 5G, like in the United States, and satellites and telecommunications, right? So that's kind of what they're up to. And that's why they're getting this $48 billion of infrastructure money. The key takeaway here is that they confirmed a cybersecurity head, I guess. What's interesting is this dude, Davidson, he's a veteran of federal tech scene and worked at Google and other like prominent, tech organizations. So, there is this there is this blend of big tech and government right now, whether it's, big tech, not, being straight up big tech and integrating into government, or taking positions after working in public in big tech. So there is this like kind of blend thing going on right now. For me personally, all I care about, and I feel like I'm just like yelling in the wind because I can't control any of this. But what I do care about is looking at the people that are being put in positions of power, at least in the United States, which is where I live. Did I wake up late, Zach? Yeah. No, no, not today. Tuesday and Thursday, I teach at university in the morning. So what's important to me here is that the government is putting people in power, positions of power and influence that can dictate policy and direction for the government that have some clue about cybersecurity. That's what matters to me. And if they're putting people in place who are like anti that, that's concerning and something I need to think about for the overall kind of picture. But for my day-to-day practicing, this is interesting for geopolitical stuff, but it doesn't affect like the way that my organization is going to be attacked or not attacked, right? Unless it gets way overboard and like we get a super aggressive person who wants to go like on the offense and initiate a cyber war. That's a little different, but I don't think we're quite there yet. So this is interesting, but whatevs.
Magnibber ransomware found using signed certificates. Researchers at the Korea cybersecurity company OnLab published a report showing the ransomware group is using Windows application package files signed with valid certificates. These are used to insert malware that appears as a Chrome or Edge browser update. Victims must first visit a malicious website where they receive an alert to update their browser manually and provide the signed malicious file. Installing this immediately begins the encryption process, so it's not believed to be part of a double extortion scheme. It's unclear how Magnibber is getting people to use these malicious URLs, but phishing seems the most likely vector. And now...
Interesting. I find this particularly interesting because I actually dealt with something yesterday that eerily sounds familiar. It definitely wasn't in a foreign language, though. So this is interesting to me. I guess this is an opportunity twofold. One, they said that the malware will immediately encrypt the endpoint, so there's no lurking. There's no lurking malware on your network. This thing is like a flare gun. It launches and you see it. So, if your end users are getting compromised by this, that sucks. But at the end of the day, like, hopefully they're backing up their files or they're using some type of file share and, you wipe their machine and they move on. Sorry, Carl and sales. But what is important to hear as like a bigger, more concerning thing is that they are signing the executables with certificates to make them look valid, which is interesting. For a takeaway for y'all, like it's an opportunity to educate your end users that they should only be updating their web browsers using, like, I can't show you on here, or maybe I can. You should only be updating the web browser like when you go into settings or about and update, or for me personally on a Mac, like the button will say update here. You should be using the built-in functionality. You should not be updating when a site in a different language tells you it's time to update your browser. Okay. I know it sounds obvious, but a lot of people don't care about that. They're not thinking. They just want to get their job done, and get home. And they'll click in order to get the pop-ups out of the way so they can get back to what they're doing. So opportunity to educate yourself. Yes.
From our sponsor, Blackmore at blackberry.com. Bug alerts as a phone service. Cybersecurity professionals are often forced to follow Twitter accounts to stay on top of cybersecurity developments in a timely fashion, but finding the signal in all that noise can be time-consuming or at least tedious. Product manager Matt Sullivan is trying to get around that with Bug Alert, a crowdsourced site that will phone you when there's a relevant vulnerability discovered. They'll also send you an SMS. Bug Alert uses a geographically dispersed group of vetted volunteers who review incoming bug reports on Twitter and other sources and then send push alerts to registered users. You can even use the telephone option to play a text-to-speech version for a vulnerability alert. Most of the service users currently opt for SMS. Sullivan argues the service is needed as relying on CVE number registrations is too slow. FTC.
Okay. Okay, guys. So this is like a novel solution. It basically informs you when there's new vulnerabilities that you need to find out. I would agree that if you're new to the field or whatever, like Twitter does have, some drama and some toxicity, but it is an excellent platform for getting up to the minute information on like developing situations like Log4j. And I'll just shout out Gossi the dog at Gossi the dog. His name's Kevin Beaumont. He's out of Europe somewhere. That dude is always like posting really good updates on developing vulnerability situation. This thing is called Bug Alert. I mean, I like it's a product, and I don't know if it's free or it costs money, and then why are we talking about it? But it seems like an interesting way to basically have information distilled down and then presented to you in a timely fashion. I guess I would argue though that like, yeah, if you work in an environment where like, like financial services, or you need like up to the second updates because the moment a vuln drops, an exploit's coming for you first, maybe. But like even Log4j, like I found out about it on Friday and like did my research on the weekend, which I'm not saying you need to work on the weekend. And like by Monday, like I had a YouTube video up and like people were talking about it and stuff like that. Like I didn't need something like this. So this is an interesting service, but yeah, I mean it's interesting. I guess that's all I'll say about that.
Antitrust suit against Meta cleared to proceed. U.S. District Judge James Boasberg ruled that the Federal Trade Commission can proceed with its antitrust lawsuit against Meta after the company filed a motion to dismiss it. The FTC's initial case was found lacking in evidence, but the judge invited the agency to refile it, saying the core theory of the lawsuit is unchanged, just backed by more robust evidence this time around. In the ruling, the judge cleared the FTC to proceed with its claims that Meta's strategy with competition was to buy and bury them, but did not invite the agency to refile its claims of Meta stifling competition by restricting access to its APIs. The company, then called Facebook, dropped those API policies back in 2018 and did not enforce them since 2013.
Okay, so we do talk a lot on this channel or this threat briefing about Facebook and how they've been painting a rosy picture the last couple of weeks of doing good for the little guy. Maybe like this didn't just come up in Facebook's boardroom like today. Like this is definitely something that's been going on for a while. Maybe this was part of the play, right? We talked about maybe they were doing it in order to make Meta more palatable as you like basically open up everything to them. This could have been part of that play of their PR spin. Whatever. This is interesting. Again, I don't really feel like this is a cybersecurity story. It's just relevant because like Facebook's a Fortune, 1 company or Fortune 3, right? Google, Facebook, Amazon. So interesting. Draw your own conclusions on you think it's a monopoly or not. I don't think it's a monopoly. You might be able to make the case that like what they're trying to do in VR is monopoly, but whatever. I would just cruise past this story as like, a tabloid story that I read at the news or as I'm going through the grocery store line. Back when we used to have grocery store lines. Now, now you check yourself out, but not really
Dorsey
a story.
proposes Bitcoin legal defense fund. The Block Inc. CEO proposed creating the fund for developers of the
Sorry, guys, 404. Here we go.
Cryptocurrency on the BitDev mailing list. The post was co-signed by Sharecode Labs co-founder Alex Morcos and Martin White. Dorsey said the fund was needed to provide legal support for the community, currently facing multi-front litigation and threats. The fund is currently not looking to raise outside capital and is free and voluntary for developers. The fund's first activity will be defending a lawsuit targeting Bitcoin developers related back to the theft of cryptocurrency from the Mt. Gox hack.
Mozilla expands. So that story was pulled down, which might even be indicative of something else, interesting. This is the story from CISO series. I just want to, it's hard for me to give you guys my perspective on it because I was like trying to figure out what was going on here. Whatever. Okay. So there's a fund together for funding litigation and paying lawyers basically to protect cryptocurrency Bitcoin developers. Okay. That's fine. I mean, whatever. The only thing I say about crypto, right, people?
I'm a crypto evangelist. I love it, love it, love it.
Yeah. Okay, let's keep
Total
going.
Cookie protection. The browser maker is adding its total cookie protection feature to its lightweight Firefox Focus mobile browser on Android. This feature came to the desktop Firefox browser back in February 2021. Total cookie protection is designed to prevent cross-site tracking by separating cookies into separate logical jars, keeping browser data away from different sites. This is part of Mozilla's concerted effort to add tracking protections, automatically blocking cookies from known trackers and auto-blocking browser fingerprinting scripts back in 2020.
No, that's great. Okay, so this is just good information that Firefox is continuing to, push for privacy type, elements in their browser. We talked last week about how Brave browser is designed for privacy. Firefox is continuing to push it. You really, I mean, personally, I feel that you have to balance between privacy, functionality, utility, and like stability, right? So I mean, you could have like this wicked, sweet private browser, like a Tor browser, right, or something, and then like it lacks all the functionality that you like and you've gotten used to. So like you have to make those trade-off decisions for yourself. But the important thing is that these large players are introducing privacy as standard function features, empowering the end user to decide how these things are tracked and whatnot. So this is pretty cool. I'm a fan. You know what I mean? I tap my cap to that, especially on Android. All right, guys. So this is it's Thursday, right? Which means it's Simply Cyber Live Thursday, where we do our long form at 4:30 this afternoon. So we will be talking to our good friend Mike Jones, aka the Haunted Hacker. I hope you guys can attend. Just drop in the live stream. It's been great. Let me know, I guess, in the comments, or next time you're talking to me on Discord, what you think of the noon broadcast. I can't do it any different on Tuesday and Thursday, but Monday, Wednesday, and Friday I can continue to do 8 a.m. So if the community's tolerance to be able to support having different times on different days, I'm definitely willing to support that. But that's how we're rolling, y'all. This was good. I hate to cut it short. I do have the grind to get to, but I hope you all are well. I hope this information gave you something that you can work with, move forward with, make you be a better cybersecurity practitioner. And we'll leave it at that. All right, y'all, be good. We'll talk to you tomorrow morning. Well, no. We'll talk to you this afternoon at 4:30 p.m. And if you can't make that, we'll see you at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. All right, y'all, be good.